Hey you all, and good morning. Carpetbagger here, coming to you live from the south, more specifically Arlington, Virginia, right outside of Washington DC. You can't quite see it, but right on the other side of that bridge for the highway, that's the Pentagon right there. So we are right outside of Washington DC, and Washington DC has a bunch of amazing museums to check out, and I wanted to check out one that I've never checked out before, and that is here at the DEA Museum, the Drug Enforcement Agency, the agency that is trying to stop the usage of illicit, illegal drugs in the United States of America. Have a wonderful little museum here at their headquarters, again in Arlington, Virginia, right outside of Washington, DC. So always excited to check out new and interesting museums. So please follow me. So I am in the bathroom of the DEA building. I'm going to be checking out the museum here in just a moment, but it was an interesting experience coming in. So I thought I could just walk in and see the museum. It was a little more complicated than that. The security guard at the front said I needed an armed escort, so he called a man with a gun to come get me. And he took me to the screening room where he put me through like an airport-like security. They checked my ID, and then they called the lady that is over at the DEA Museum to come get me and bring me over here. So an interesting process, you know, because you're dealing with the actual DEA building, so they have to take everything very serious. But getting ready to check out that museum, so let's check it out. See the big DEA letters there, and if you look at this wallpaper, it's got drugs all over it. You remember the wallpaper in Willy Wonka where you licked the fruits and they tasted like the fruits that you were licking? Imagine if this was like that, and if you licked the wall, you got the effects of the drugs it was showing you. Alright, we'll start here in the opioids section, and you can see some heroin users there. These little doors. Oh yeah, and there is a spoon and a needle used for injecting heroin. And then here are some over-the-counter examples of opioid that is can easily be abused as well. Here's the history of opium, some historical opium-based items. That is a opium scraper that you would use to process opium to be used. Some opium scales, and then a pipe used for smoking opium. Got some historical drug paraphernalia there. Moving on to cocaine. We have the cocaine exhibit. Let's see what's in the shows here. So some of this is the old-timey cocaine. There's some medicinal cocaine. There's a Coca-Cola bottle. They used to actually have cocaine in it. And oh, there we go. There's some drug paraphernalia there. There's a razor blade and a mirror to scrape cocaine. I think that is a pipe used for smoking cocaine. And yeah, remember, these were the McDonald's spoons for coffee that they had in the 80s, and apparently they were used so commonly as drug paraphernalia that McDonald's stopped having them. They discontinued them because they were being used to use drugs. Here's an early asthma inhaler, but instead of what they use in asthma inhalers today, they just use good old-fashioned cocaine. And of course, one man comes to mind to a lot of people when they think of cocaine, and that's cocaine dealer Pablo Escobar, and that is his death mask right there. Also of interest is these crazy looking platform shoes there. It says that this was used by an undercover agent when he was infiltrating a drug gang. So it said they had to dress like other people in the drug industry to blend in. So hard to believe you would ever wear these shoes to blend in somewhere. From cocaine, we head into marijuana. Let's see what items they have here. The marijuana section. We have, okay, so those are rolling papers, and then a pipe used for smoking marijuana. And that's a normal pen. That was an organization that tried to legalize marijuana. Oh, here's some other ways of using marijuana. There's gummies, there is a vape, and there's some CBD there, which I guess is a different type of chemical from the marijuana plant. Does not necessarily cause you to get high, from my understanding. There is actually a booby trap here. This was found in Thailand guarding a marijuana field. It was attached to a tripwire, so if someone tripped, they would be impaled by that. Pretty gnarly. And then this Hempenale poster says that this was a brewing company, a beer making company that was using hemp seeds in brewing its beer. And they were investigated by the DEA and had to fight criminal charges. It cost them $20,000 in legal fees, but they were found innocent. And the High Times magazine was a magazine that encouraged and promoted the usage of marijuana. I'm looking at the articles here. It's some of them are about drugs, but one of them says Walt Disney's Secret Life. It says the wizard was a weirdo. So I don't know. Now I'm curious on what they have to say about Walt Disney. Now this is a machine used for synthesizing marijuana oils. I guess it'd be driving the oils out of the plants. Now this is jewel-encrusted gun here. She belonged to a drug lord who kidnapped, tortured, and murdered a DEA agent. So, wow, that's pretty intense. And then this is a Homer Simpson bong, or at least they say that this is a Homer Simpson bong. It doesn't look that much like Homer Simpson, if you ask me. We're moving into the synthetic drug section here. The mid-20th century amphetamine epidemic. This is phenobarbital, and this is just a jar of amphetamines. And then we have Sudafed, which is used in the creation of methamphetamine. Oh, there's a methamphetamine pipe there for smoking methamphetamine. Okay, but there at the top we have all the things needed to create crystal meth. Don't try to do it. Don't look at this and try to do it at home, because you know, don't do math, just don't. And down here there's a big sheet of LSD. We have Albert Einstein painted on the LSD sheet there. And then, oh, this is some bad stuff here. These are bath salts. You don't want to do that, otherwise you may turn into a bath salt zombie and eat someone's face off. But seriously, yeah, I remember when these were going around when I was working in Child Protective Services. Had some really bad experiences with people that were using this stuff. They'd be in the stores like saying that it was not to be consumed, but obviously that was wink wink nudge nudge, and then people would take them and then horrible things would happen. Yeah, don't do this stuff. Here are some items that would be used by people who are into club drugs, like what is the club drug? Like Molly and ecstasy. I feel like I'm going to get demonetized for saying all these drug names in this video, but anyways, yeah. So these are they'd use these in clubs, like suck on pacifiers, and then this shiny shirt was worn by a DEA agent that was infiltrating the club scene. And this is a pill press that would be used to create fake pills. You could just combine all the chemicals or drugs in there and then crunch it into a pill. And then there's molds here that could disguise it to look like a actual pill, like put a stamp of a brand on it. It says, why should we stop the cycle? I guess we need an illicit drug chip here. It says there are consequences every time a person uses an illicit drug. So it says drop the illicit drug chip here and discover its consequences. So let's got a drug chip. We'll see what consequences it causes. environmental. Illegal drug production damages ecosystems. Here is an exhibit on El Chapo, one of the most notorious drug dealers of all time. At one point, he was actually one of the richest people in the world for dealing drugs. We have some of his personal items in here. It's an actual courtroom sketch when he was in court. Here is a prison outfit that he wore, and then some of his personal weapons. A gold encrusted Tommy gun. Oh, look at that, a pistol with a golden silencer. Jeez. Oh, it's a Versace pistol. Now, did Versace really make this pistol? Here are some Dea Uniforms and Tools. This is a massive camera that would be mounted to the bottom of an aircraft that can actually find marijuana fields. That's pretty wild. Of course, you got your guns right there. Here are some drug testing supplies, so you can see if the drugs are legitimate, what you're actually dealing with there. And then a polygraph here was saying that anyone that joins the DEA does have to take a polygraph to make sure that they have a squeaky clean background and that they're not just some drug dealer that's trying to sneak in under the radar. Here's some counterculture items. Again, another issue of High Times magazine. I wonder what the creators of High Times would think if they knew that there would be 2 issues of their magazine on display at the Dea Museum. And then a marijuana necklace saying that counterculture members would love to use marijuana symbols to belong to the culture of marijuana use. It's a medicine identification block, so they could pull that out and compare all these different medications to random pills that they may find. There is Howl by Allen Ginsberg. See, it talks about how he documented his amphetamine use, but later, because of the problems that amphetamine was causing, he switched to marijuana and LSD. Here's Dr. Isaac's eye water. It was, I guess, eye drops that just had straight up opium in it. Yeah, the old-timey drugs were really hardcore. You just go to the pharmacy and they would just give you a pile of illicit drugs. It's a 1900s era hypodermic needle and syringe that he used to inject heroin. Oh my God, that's so terrifying to me. To see that needle, I would never want to inject anything using that horrible looking thing. This motorcycle belonged to the leader of the Hells Angels, and saying here that the DEA would actually use asset forfeiture, so they would take possessions from people that were dealing or selling illegal drugs. So they snagged themselves a sweet motorcycle from the leader of the Hells Angels, who was apparently dealing drugs. Here are some of the symptoms of drug use. You have constipation here. Guess you can put them on this body here. What else? We got high body temperature. Put that on his brain. Ooh, liver disease. That's nasty. Don't want that. Oh, vomiting. Let's see, let's give him some blurred vision there. And skin sores from scratching. There we go. Oh, here. This is why you don't do meth. Tooth decay and gum disease. Upset stomach. Kidney disease. Stomach cramps. Oh, there you go. Oh, can't forget the heart. So yeah, that's why you don't use drugs. It shows you what text messages you should investigate as a DEA agent. It says, "You there? Yes, sweetie. Happy birthday, mommy. Oh, baby boy, thanks for remembering." So yeah, that's not all that suspicious. This one, on the other hand, got new crank, all other stuff too, new flake, KK, sound good, 2 of the usual things. Got it? Okay. Just tell him where to find it, how much. That one seems questionable. And yes, this message shows illegal activity. This one, happy birthday to the mother, not so bad. There are different types of fingerprints, loops, arches and whorls. Let's see what kind of fingerprints I have. Can you see? I would say I have whorls. Hey, no one steal my fingerprints though from this video. It's very cool museum they have it here at the DEA Museum. They said that this had been open since I think 1991, but actually they did a couple-year renovation on it. Actually just reopened in its new form in November, so it was fairly recently has been remodeled and reopened. So I figure now, since we're so close, we'll head in to our nation's capital. And we have crossed over the river here into Washington, D.C. As you look over the city, notice the buildings are not very tall. Like in a lot of movies, you'll see skyscrapers in Washington, D.C., but the local ordinance is that no building can be taller than 130 feet. So the building's a lot shorter than you'd think, and that Washington Monument just towers over everything. Of course, Washington, D.C. famous for its cherry trees. These aren't that impressive right now because it's February, but you know, in a little bit these will be very pretty. So I think we'll check out the Franklin Delano Roosevelt Monument. It's through these walls here. And here we start with a statue of Eleanor Roosevelt, the First Lady under Franklin Delano Roosevelt. It says Eleanor Roosevelt, the first United States delegate to the United Nations. You can see someone has left a rose there in her hands. Yeah, the whole FDR monument's very interesting. It's not just one statue. It's like this whole open labyrinth with different aspects of FDR's presidency strewn about. And it does appear that we are doing this monument in reverse order, so keep that in mind. Here we have a massive statue of FDR and his little dog too. This is Fala, his beloved dog. And you can see there the inscription, "They who seek to establish systems of government based on the regimentation of all human beings by a handful of individual rulers call this a new order." This is not new, and it is not order. So wise words being spoken there by the giant statue of FDR. Looks like a lot of people like to reach out and grab his finger, which I will be doing now. So yeah, you can always see on statues when the brass shows through, or copper rather, that is where people like to touch. The fingers wear away the green patina that grows on these statues and causes the original to shine through. It's interesting to take into mind this green coloration. This is like the Statue of Liberty, made out of the same material. So if the Statue of Liberty, if you were able to rub down the Statue of Liberty every day, that's what color it would be. Looks like people also like to rub his knee. And I must admit, these monuments here, these giant green drippy faces, they do kind of look like giant zombies, but very cool nonetheless. And you gotta love little Fala here. The quote here saying, "I have seen war and I hate war." And you can see the wall here crumbling, the blocks being strewn about. See the "I hate war" phrase there in the blocks. Now there's normally a lot of water features here, but they look like they are all currently turned off. Now this part of the exhibit is a little abstract, but I think I understand it. I don't know, you can see some of the faces poking through, different parts of the human face poking through. There's a little tiny face inside of a big face. And you notice the braille here. Now I don't know for sure, but I am hypothesizing the inclusion of the braille. I think it talks about, you know, people who have handicaps and struggle with handicaps. Of course, FDR was handicapped. He was confined to a wheelchair, although he did not publicly allow people to know that he was in a wheelchair. But yeah, I think this wall here would allow people with visual impairments to be able to feel the pictures, feel the handprints here, able to read the braille. It says, I never forgot that I live in a house owned by all the American people that I have been given their trust. You can see there an American person listening to the radio. Often FDR would give fireside chats where all Americans would listen to what he had to say about what was going on in the country. It says here, I see 1/3 of a nation ill-housed, ill-clad, ill-nourished. Of course, talking about the Great Depression here. See the impoverished farmer and his wife there. See the people here waiting in the bread line. See all these poor, unfortunate individuals waiting just to get a loaf of bread. And you can see the statue here of FDR in his wheelchair. And then the quoting behind him, you can see earlier, it does have Braille on the writing. Now, I know that this is a controversial portrayal. I remember my history teacher in college did not like this statue. You know, what he said was that FDR spent his entire life hiding the fact that he was in a wheelchair, and then they make a statue of him sitting in it for eternity. So I think there's different schools of thought. I think for some people with disabilities, I think it may be encouraging to know that President FDR was in a wheelchair. Just interesting, just two different ways of looking at it. And from the FDR monument, we move on to the Martin Luther King Jr. monument. You see the inscription on the stone there. It says, out of a mountain of despair, a stone of hope. If you look over there, you can see actually a stone mountain. Of course, that could possibly be a reference to Stone Mountain, Georgia, which Martin Luther King did mention in his famous speech. You can see the mountain of despair there. Carved out that section that is slid out here and has the image of Martin Luther King Jr. So we're going to cut here through the mountain of despair. And over here we have the Washington Monument and the reflecting pool and the location where Martin Luther King Jr. gave his famed I Have a Dream speech. The Lincoln Memorial. Oh man, Lincoln, that's a lot of stairs. Whew. And here we have it. The man himself. His famed statue here. Oh, it is really massive in person. You see it. People come out here and they tell Abraham Lincoln all the problems they're having, and he does his best to help them solve their problems. And Lincoln atop his giant throne, just overlooking the city of Washington, D.C., the capital of the United States of America, the country that he helped keep from splintering. And over here in the corner of the Lincoln Memorial, we have a little gift shop. Features some of Abraham Lincoln's greatest hits here. The penny, the $5 bill. Yeah, there's these little off-brand Lego sets. And have, I think that's Lincoln there in the back, and I guess that's a park ranger in front of them. Don't leave without your own Abraham Lincoln stovepipe cap. And the view up here is pretty amazing. Now there actually is a museum built in to the base of the monument. Here's Daniel Chester French, who created the concept for the Lincoln statue. You can see the clay model there. And there is the often seen life mask of Lincoln that was cast to help create this. See some of the tools there used for the carving. A little exhibit here on the I have a dream speech. You see all those people there surrounding the monument. Martin Luther King gave his most famous speech. And normally this elevator would take you up to the Statuary Chamber. Now I cannot recall exactly. I believe I've been in there, but I cannot quite remember what is in the Statuary Chamber. I guess it's probably closed because of COVID restrictions. You can see these ducks sloshing around in the reflecting pool, much like Jenny Gump did in the Forrest Gump movie. Now this here that you're seeing is the Vietnam Wall. Now found it interesting. The first time I saw this, I felt like it did not look how I thought it would. Instead of just one wall, it has kind of got a angular shape to it, and it's built into the side of a hill there. Of course, it is one of the most sad and striking of the monuments here in Washington, D.C., listing all the names of all the people lost in the Vietnam War. Actually a guidebook here where you can look up various names. I'll show you where on the wall you can find them. It's time to stop at one of these Washington D.C. hot dog stands. So they have beef hot dog, Polish sausage. I'm not sure what a beef half smoke is, so maybe I will try one of those. So this is a half smoke. Not entirely sure what that means. I just got everything on it. Ketchup, mustard, relish, onions, so I guess we'll give it a try. Pretty good. Just a little bit like a kosher hot dog, a little different. I guess it does have a little smoky taste in there, but very, very decent hot dog here on the streets of Washington, D.C. See the ever-present Washington Monument. Pretty much see it from any point here in D.C. It does actually have an elevator that goes up to the top, so it is a ride technically. I do think you need to get reservations, and I doubt they would have them at this point of the day. Someday I'll get up there and ride all the way to the tippy top. The ice cream truck over here. There does appear to be a lot of hot dog stands in Washington, D.C. Seems everywhere you go have a different hot dog stand. All right, we're walking over here next to the White House. I think this is a restricted area right to our left, but I think we're okay to be on this walking path that'll take us in front of the White House. I think that's, I forget what part of the White House that is. That is one of the side buildings. So yes, the actual name of that is the Eisenhower Executive Building, which is part of the White House compound. And then the West Wing will be the stretch of building right along there. And there it is, the White House, if you can see it from this distance. Now, you used to be able to, like in here before, you could go right up to that fence and get your picture taken in front of the White House. You can see there's some distance. There's a lady walking right there, but I think she must be an employee of the White House. Yeah, but yeah, you're not allowed to go up to the fence anymore. I guess the political environment have become more and more hostile over the recent years, so you have to stand a little bit further back from the White House. So you can't even really take your picture in front of it anymore. So don't know if anyone's home. Don't know if Joe Biden is currently inside, but that's your White House. A little closer look there, but of course that big fence. You know, they do need a big fence. It's a very, very important building. Out here in front of the White House is the Zero Milestone. Now, this was originally supposed to be the point from which all road distances were measured from, but they're not. Here we can get a little bit closer look at the Washington Monument, created back in the day when America liked to make things for the sole purpose of being large and imposing. If you notice here, right about the middle, the bricks are different colors, and that's actually construction was going on and then halted during the Civil War. And when the Civil War was over, construction resumed, but they started using marble from different quarries to finish the monument. You can listen, you can hear the patriotic flapping of American flags. Oh my, what a monument. I guess we're this close, I should walk up and make physical communion with the monument. Oh, such a large monument here. Washington, D.C. There we go. Nice, smooth monument there. It's big, it's really tall. And over in that direction you can see the Lincoln Memorial. And in that direction you can get a little peek at the White House. And over on this side of the Washington Monument you can get a pretty good view of the U.S. Capitol building. Of course, it was just a little bit over a year ago. They had the Capitol riots where the building was stormed. Very scary to watch unfolding live on television. Truly would hate to come all the way to the nation's capital and be knocked unconscious by a tree branch. Man, they weren't kidding about these low-hanging tree branches. I guess I could walk around it. I technically don't have to walk underneath it. Now this memorial here, a little bit quieter than the Lincoln Memorial. It says caution. Slippery conditions. Who knew DC could be such a dangerous place? The memorial where people go to ask for advice when the Lincoln Memorial is too busy. The Thomas Jefferson Memorial. And that is pretty with the setting sun shining on it. Finally made it back to the car where we parked here next to the Cuban Friendship Urn. So usually when I come here to DC, this is where I park. It's in a little park behind the Jefferson Memorial. I'm always actually looking. DC is a kind of a tricky city to get around because there's no real good parking in the city. And you have to walk everywhere. So I'm always looking, if anyone knows, I thought this was a good idea to park here, but it is a bit of a hike. Does anyone know of any other good places to park in DC? Maybe any tips on where to park? I do want to come back here. I'm heading north tomorrow, but I did want to come back here to DC in the near future and do some of the museums because the majority of the museums are back open. So I did want to hit up some of the Smithsonian's. So yeah, tips. Where do I park? Where do I park when I want to visit the Smithsonian? That's one of the major questions I have. If anyone has any ideas. Also want to thank the DEA who gave me a DEA pin for my hat. That was very nice of them, but I don't know. Do you guys think if I wore this, it would make me look like a narc? Just kidding. Thank you guys so much for coming along with me today as we visit our nation's capital, Washington, D.C. If you'd like to subscribe to the channel, that helps me out and lets you know when new videos are arriving. I'm trying to upload nearly every day. I'm gonna take a few days off here in the upcoming days. If you'd like other ways to support the channel, consider donating to Patreon. $3 or more will get you a postcard once a month from me to you. Also selling enamel pins in the Etsy shop. We have 4 different styles available. And again, that's all in the Etsy shop in the description of this video. All that helps keep this train on the tracks, this boat on the water, and this dirigible with a giant camera that looks for marijuana fields in the air. Until next time, my friends, this one's in the bag.